90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown in studio for another program. I want to welcome everyone on this Saturday. A beautiful day here in Kansas City. Well, this afternoon.
Right.
So nice to see the sun come out after the rain that took place this morning. And if you are listening to us on kkfi.org, wherever you are at, I hope you are having a wonderful weekend as well. Month of June, we have Black Music Month celebrated in the month of June. And this first week of June is also HS Awareness Week, and which is hidradenitis suppurativa, which is a medical condition, a chronic medical condition that impacts people. It's an auto-inflammatory condition that affects you where you get infections in your sweat glands, or basically anywhere that you have sweat glands on your body, and it affects approximately 3 million people in the United States. I am one who was affected by this condition, and so have been using my platforms to bring awareness and hopefully work towards some more research and working to improve this condition. So I want to thank everyone who has reached out and just provided positive support so far. But we have two very, very special guests in studio today, two returning guests, alumni, if you will, who have been just so open and sharing their journey with us as they started as high school seniors about to attend college, and now two graduates, the class of 2025. We have Lailah Hawkins, my daughter, class of 2025 from Jackson State University, and we have AJ Atkins, class of 2025 from, EJ, I'm so sorry. And you know what, it is so crazy, all day I knew I was going to do that. I don't know why AJ just kept popping into my head. But I'm sorry, we have AJ Atkins with us from the graduate from Southern University, which, being completely honest, when I was younger, Southern was the university that I really, really wanted to go to back in the day. So just very, very proud of you guys, and been looking forward to having this conversation. So welcome back to the program, EJ, and Lailah. But so we want to get started with, first of all, just to kind of back up, like I said, each of you went to HBCUs, and so we'll start with you, Lailah. What really led you to that decision to attend Jackson State? What really made an impression on you and led you down that path?
Okay, well, during my high school years, I think it was my sophomore year, I went on a HBCU college tour where we went to 10 different HBCUs, one of those being Southern. BJ. And I don't know, Jackson State just stood out to me as far as the community. I could just feel the energy on the campus, and I was like, this is something I want to be a part of. And it was kind of something that was always in the back of my mind. And Miss Renee also had a huge influence on that as well. Miss Renee Southern, I have to shout you out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm so glad I chose Jackson State.
It's so cool, and shout out to the Alphas who put together the college tour. And so EJ, for you at Southern, what was it that drew you to that campus, and especially with engineering major? I'm sure there are a lot of different opportunities relative to that major. So what led you to Southern?
Yeah, Southern basically just gave me money, so that's why I chose Southern. And it was relatively kind of connected, where I can get the most information about the city, the school, the type of vibe Baton Rouge is, and it's close to my grandmother if I did need to do anything, move out because of hurricanes and all that other stuff. So, but my cousin went to LSU, so I got some information and advice from her, and my other cousin went to Southern at the time as well, so it was just that connection there, and then plus the money, so that's why I chose it. Yeah.
Okay, that is cool. And so have to ask, even though you both, stuck it out, made it through your 4 years. Any regrets about your decision to attend your HBCUs? And we'll start with you, EJ.
Yeah, okay. No regrets. After the first semester, I started to get into it, school and other activities, get into meet new people and all that other stuff. So it definitely helped that journey and helped me blossom into basically what I needed to be for that time frame and that season there and at Southern. So I definitely don't regret it. It was great times and the culture, of course, was amazing. So.
Okay, and you, Lailah, being in Jackson, Mississippi, for 4 years, is there anything about that experience that you regret?
I would not say I have any regrets, but one thing I wish I would have done differently was just do a little more research, just so I could have been more prepared, because like I said, I went there in high school, but I wasn't paying attention to any of the surrounding areas. If we weren't on the campus, I was probably asleep on the bus. I just wasn't paying attention.
Right.
So when I got down there, I was very surprised, but I don't have any regrets at all.
Okay, and so that is one thing that we want to mention to, maybe your prospective college students, to do your research on the campuses that you are wanting to attend. And so that kind of segues into my next question. So for each of you and the experiences that you had, being on a all-black campus, if you will, and so you don't often think about diversity when you're thinking about a historically black college, but talk to us about the diversity of the different personalities that you all have encountered and become a part of your friend group, and how that kind of shaped your experiences at your at Jackson State or at Southern. And we'll start with you, Lailah.
I would say with me being in the South and being from the Midwest, I definitely have gotten to see a wide range of personalities, and I feel like it made me more comfortable and able to express myself and truly be my authentic self. And being around, I feel like there was so many big personalities and everybody was just their selves. Just because we were at HBCU, we all probably come from similar backgrounds, but there are a lot of people that come from a lot of different backgrounds. So it was just a lot of different, I got to see a lot of different things that I wouldn't have seen if I would have stayed at home. So I think it allowed me to just truly blossom into myself and not be afraid to truly be who I am.
Right, okay, excellent. And so for you?
Yeah, I would have to probably agree. Just HBCUs and the culture that it pretty much is, it allows people to come from wherever they come from to really just not only get an education, but to build a connection with the people that you meet or potentially meet. And it's just like everyone just thrives off each other. It's very welcoming community. Southern also has a lot of big personalities. But,
right.
Like I said, everyone comes from, there's people from California, DMV. Of course, you have your natives from Louisiana, Texas, Florida, Chicago. They're from everywhere. So it just brings a lot of different identities from where they come from and blend it all together here at whatever school you are, and particularly me, Southern, and it just creates like a whole new and fresh type of vibe that you wouldn't get maybe at a PWI or if you stay home wherever you are. So it was definitely something that's what carries you through those 4 years for sure.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Mike, I wasn't for sure if you was leaning in because you was going to ask a question or not.
No, we good right now.
Okay. So, talk to us about, because when we last met, you guys were entering into your senior years. And so, I know that comes with, great expectation of your future, because now it's real. And you start to, having, you start rounding up in your prospective fields. And so talk to us about your senior years for each of you, and whether or not it met your expectations, and then culminating with the graduation ceremony. Did you feel like you were really ready to graduate, or, talk to us about that process and then getting to graduation, to the actual ceremony. And we'll start with you, Lailah.
Okay. Well, I would say my senior year definitely exceeded my expectations. I thought that I was going to go in and it was going to be an easy, relaxed, last 2 semesters. I'm going to be able to enjoy myself, which I was able to do, but it was probably one of the hardest years out of the 4. And I would say just because this is do or die. In my eyes, I have to be done. So the classes were still tough with it still being the end, and preparing for graduation was a whole nother thing in itself. You would think that everything would be just kind of laid out and given to you, but you do have to make sure that you are going out of your way to make sure you're meeting all your deadlines, and you know, you're talking to your advisors, double checking, making sure you have all of your courses lined up and that there's nothing that they can say to you to be like, no, this isn't right.
Right.
So that was that in itself. I definitely enjoyed. I spent time with friends. Got to look around Jackson one more time. I'm like, I won't be back, but you know, I loved while I was there. But and then the ceremony, which was
Not even for
definitely
homecoming?
exceeded. Right? Yeah, no, for homecoming, I'm definitely coming back every year. But other than that, yeah. But the ceremony was also something that exceeded my expectations as well. Just being in that moment and thinking about my matriculation through Jackson State, it was an emotional moment for me, but I was just so happy and I felt so supported throughout my 4 years, and I was able to feel that at the ceremony, so it was great.
All right, and same for you, DJ.
Yeah, my senior year, I would say it started off like, you know, it's just senior year. Still gotta, I still have 1 more semester, so I don't necessarily have to be like too keyed into it. But I definitely would say that I should have started doing a little bit of stuff that semester. But like my graduation application, although I did turn it in before the deadline, they didn't know I was graduating until the day before.
Right.
So I had to go to whatever it is, cashier or whatever, to get them to process it, or I wouldn't have been able to walk. So stuff like that, you know, it kind of like throws you off, like you just get confused, right?
Right.
And all that stuff that be happening, and particularly, you know, HBCUs, that's kind of the stigma that we get sometimes, things not being in place. But, you know, I was, like Lailah said, I did everything so that when that time came, at least, they wouldn't say, oh, you didn't do that, or you didn't do this. But that's the case. They just had to, you know, move it through or whatever. So I would definitely say, you know, make sure you do what you got to do, especially that last year to get out. All my classes were pretty much set in stone, passed all of those, but what particularly made my senior year like really hard was just my honors thesis to graduate with honors. I had a lot of setbacks with that project, particularly with some changes within the real life project of itself that I wasn't aware of. So in February, I had to literally shift my whole ideology around what I was going to write about and present. So I had to change my advisor. I had to end up keeping my project. I had to change literally the connection between real life and pretty much policy and the project itself. So that was very, very hard, and I didn't really start writing until like mid-March, and I had to present before May, so that last week in April. So that was a lot of writing, 80 pages I had to do,
Right.
and a lot of analysis and results that I had to write and redo because it wasn't right and all that other stuff. So it was very hard, but it was definitely something that I learned and really grew to be proud of.
Right, and so another lesson sounds like even going into your senior year, in particular at an HBCU, making sure that you are on pace to graduate, make sure you have all of your requirements, check and double check, but also to enjoy the process as much as possible. And so time is flying so quickly, and we are up against our first break, and we got to make sure we get Brother Brown into the conversation. So we're going to take this quick break, and then we'll be back to continue our conversation with Lailah and EJ. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to 90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and we'll be back after this quick break.
Thanks for tuning in to KKFI. The teacher is here. Simply tell your smart speaker,
90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown. And that was Before I Let You Go by Frankie Beverly and Mays. Rest in peace to Frankie Beverly as we celebrate Black Music Month in the month of June. And so before we went to break, we were having a conversation with our two guests, Lailah Hawkins and E.J. Atkins, and just talking about their journeys at their prospective colleges, and now each of them are graduates and moving into the workforce. And so we've been fortunate to have them here through each year that they completed at school. And so we're just kind of summing up that experience. And so, before we went to break, we're talking about the graduation ceremony. And I know it was, just a wonderful experience for me, and it's just nothing like an HBCU graduation. And so, for the ceremony itself, so what was that like for each of you? Were you all, warned not to over celebrate? What were the boundaries that were placed on you? And then relative, I know you each kind of alluded to the ceremony, but to the ceremony itself, did it, once again exceed your expectations? What did that feel like, that moment of walking across the stage and everyone that each of you carried with you through this journey? So, kind of walk us through that. And we'll start with you, EJ.
Yeah, I remember graduation rehearsal. It was so funny. Our president, he took the time to really say from his chest that he wanted this, ceremony to be very well received in a way, and for everyone to get their opportunity to shine. And specifically talking to the Greeks, they'll be out here jumping, hopping, slashing, all that stuff. But they did it anyways,
Right.
and it wasn't necessarily bad. Like, they took their little 5-second, 10-second thing to do what they needed to, but I mean, the show kept rolling, and he just looked at them,
right.
like, really, but it was still good. When I was just there, or particularly leading up to it, it's just like, wow, like I made it here to this moment. So when graduation actually happened, I definitely would say that it lived up to my expectations, but also just like the moments just fly by too. So like you really, to me, I couldn't really like digest it in for real. But definitely like the night of and leaving Baton Rouge, I was like, yeah, man, you really graduated. So like,
It's over.
yeah, it's
Right.
over. Gotta, move on to the next thing. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next thing, and everyone that was involved in Southern, from the people I met, the different organizations, it all culminated into a really fun experience, and something that I was truly grateful and thankful for. So.
Yes, and you, same thing later with the ceremony.
So yeah, as well, we had, our graduation rehearsals, and they told us the same thing, don't be hooting and hollering and doing, but I feel like in the back of their mind, they know.
Right.
Y'all know
Right.
what we gonna do. I think they just want to say they said it, but so of course at our graduation day, as you saw, we were just being us.
Yes.
I can always appreciate that, but as far as the ceremony, like I was saying earlier, I was just so happy and just proud of myself, because throughout the journey you aren't necessarily thinking about what the ceremony is going to be like. Or for me, I was like, okay, well, I guess there is something at the end.
Right.
I just kind of forgot. I was just so stuck in it.
Mm-hmm.
But being there was just wow, and just looking up and seeing my family just made me feel so proud, just to know that this degree is not just for me. This is for my family, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without you all support. And it was a great feeling to walk the stage, shake everyone's hands, take the pictures, and I just kept subconsciously telling myself, like, all right, live in the moment, enjoy this moment, because this is it. And I'm so proud of myself, and it feels good to close that chapter and move on to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw that to Brother Brown.
So, obviously, you guys were successful and graduating in 4 years, and kudos to that. I was not one of those people. It's a lot of time and money. But anyway, that's another story. But just curious about, now that you're on the other side of this journey, is there any different approach that you would have taken if you would have had the hindsight of this information that you have after 4 years your freshman year? If you would have operated different, if you would have did anything different that would have made the going easy? Or what would you tell people that be sure of this once you, if you want to do it in 4 years, what is the things that you need to make sure of freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and so on?
I would say for the aspect of, you know, where you want to see yourself at the end of when you graduate and when you come in, I would say really be invested into your degree. Not just your education, making sure that you do the papers, that you do your homework, but doing the research to start to develop what you want to get into when you graduate. So those internships, those co-ops, whatever opportunities you can get your hands on to get the experience, so you can narrow down like what particularly you are willing to be interested in. I guess that's one of the things that I feel like I didn't do enough of. I was so adamant about just I gotta get an A, or I gotta just pass this class, without also taking into account like, yeah, you're gonna get this degree. You may not get an A, but you may get a B, but that's gonna be there. But you don't know if you're gonna have certain opportunities lined up for you afterwards. So definitely continue to you know, network, build connections, and do your research to figure out what you can really do with your degree that you'll enjoy. So that's definitely one thing I would say.
Yeah, I would have to agree with everything EJ said. I will also say, one thing I wish I would have done was just started interning earlier. I don't know if I was just nervous, scared, not prepared, but I would say to just start interning like as soon as possible. Networking, that's something that's extremely important. And I don't really know what else.
Yeah. Well, you got to hit the ground running. Obviously, you guys had a great experience, but also at the same time, in order to matriculate in 4 years, you know, there was probably some semesters that were heavier with classes than others to meet the requirements. And so, I mean, that means sacrifice. As much as you saw people going out, that means that, maybe not this weekend. So just talk about that pull academically and socially that you saw. Some people didn't do it so well, and what was the outcome?
Yeah.
And really quick before we go on, it was now about 31 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock, and if you're just tuning in, you are listening to 90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. I apologize, Lailah, you can go ahead with your answer.
So no, I was gonna say, I definitely, you have to remember what you're there for, and it's just so important to stay on track, because it's so easy to fall off. And once you fall off, it's even more difficult to get back on. And I saw many people fall off track, and the consequence of that was just honestly something that was motivating for me to just say, you know, okay, some things you're not going to be able to do, and that's okay. It's always going to be something to do, but it's just, you got to keep your eye on the prize. It's a cause and effect. You know what your end goal is, you know, you're going to have to, you know, lock in and do your stuff. So it's just all about having balance and just knowing what you should and should not be doing.
Definitely got to say no. I'm curious, what is the tuition at Jackson and Southern, respectively?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Less than 20,000.
27.
Yeah,
27 at Jackson.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Well, you had scholarships and
Yeah.
that nature and heavy parental involvement, and so, you know, that's, you know, one of the things of, you know, if as a parent you are fortunate enough to take that off of your children's plate to where, you know, they don't have to worry about that financial end up front, that's a huge burden. You know, and when we talk about being able to matriculate in 4 years, you know, because we witnessed it, where you would see, you know, my wife would be in a line, and, you know, just a bunch of other students without their parents, and you know, in our experience at an HBCU, you know, what can happen will happen, and so, you know, to have that parental voice there
makes a difference.
Absolutely, and so, you know, each of them very, very blessed with a supportive village. And so for each of you, you know, when you walked on campus, like I said, I'm sure you had expectations, but what are one or two of the things that you were able to accomplish that you're very, very proud about that maybe you didn't think you would do when you were, when you entered onto campus, whether it be being a part of a particular organization or doing something that maybe you didn't normally do? What's one or two things that each of you are kind of really proud of that you did while you were at Southern or Jackson State? We'll start with you, Jay.
Yeah, I would say I definitely, as I've alluded to a few times, not just here but just everywhere, just getting acclimated to Southern, because like I said, I didn't do any college visits or anything, so I didn't know what to expect from anything, just based on pictures and just Zoom links to join, and they share information with you. So my goal is just always just to be comfortable and willing to be myself and just get involved in things. So I definitely was involved in a lot within my discipline, other extracurriculars outside of Southern as well. So that was definitely one of my things I was proud of, and something I can say I did. Also, my honors thesis, they've been talking about that since, like I said, coming in as a freshman, being in the honors college, and so many people drop out. Like we were supposed to have like 50 people to graduate with honors. We ended up only with about 25 to 30, just because of the burden of that paper. It's really a lot of work that you have to do, and pretty much kind of have to start like as soon as you get the idea. So just with everything that happened with me and the fact that I did finish is something that I'm super proud of, and to say that I did. So those two.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. And for you, Lailah.
Yes, so I would say I was what we call a Blue Ambassador, and that's something that I'm extremely proud of, because I remember when I was getting my tour, and I would be thinking like, oh, I could never do that. Like I could never. I don't know how they had the courage, and like that was nothing that I would have ever thought that I would be doing. And I started my sophomore year. My sophomore year. And what that is, let me explain what that is basically we're responsible for giving tours. We recruit students, go to different schools around the area. Sometimes they travel. It's just like a recruiting, and I was something that I was very proud to be a part of, just because we were able to make a difference in the community. And I just feel so proud to be able to walk around with different students and share the culture and show them around, and just so they could feel what I felt when I walked on the campus. That was something that just made me so proud. So yeah, I would say being a Blue Ambassador was definitely one of the highlights of my college career.
Right, that is so cool. And like I said, we want to encourage folks to go to college, but just being able to share the HBCU experience and just the support and what we experienced as parents, and trying to get across your experience as a student. And so now that each of you have graduated, and now you're beginning your journey into the workforce. And we're fortunate that each of you have had an interview already. And so talk to us about your preparation, your senior year. I know you guys went to job fairs and all of those types of things. And so in this initial job interview that each of you have completed, did you feel prepared for the job interview? Going through your colleges, and what was that like, that very first interview, that anxiety, and talk to us about that experience. And we'll start with you, Lailah. I'm sorry.
So I would definitely say I was prepared. The College of Business we're actually the #2 HBCU. College of Business. So I would say they definitely prepared us with mock interviews. We would have our own. Of course, the school would have job fairs, but we would have our own, and they gave us so many tools as far as being confident, which questions to ask, eye contact, and things like that. So researching your position. So I would definitely say for this previous interview, I was prepared. Of course, there were things that I had to do on my own, which you will.
Right.
But I felt very confident with the tools that the College of Business gave me to enter into the workforce. So I definitely felt like I had the upper hand for sure.
Right. Okay.
That made me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would definitely say the school they prepare you for everything that's to come. We have a student success center for the whole school to have access to, and then our department, they do their best to bring companies in to not only share for the companies to share about them and trying to acquire talent, but also they do like mock interviews or some resume critiques, builders, whatever. So yeah, they do their best in that aspect, and I would say all the interviews that I've been able to have just over the course of my time in college, definitely I was prepared for, looking at the company, what I'm getting involved in, developing questions around that. Recently in this other interview, I was able to, use LinkedIn to look up with people so I know what they kind of do, so I can ask questions based off, their career trajectory or what they're working on at the moment. I would say college definitely did prepare me, but it's just also very different when you're either face to face with them or screen to screen, depending on whichever option that they give you. It's also very different in that moment as well. So it may not go the way you may have planned, may go better, may go worse, or whatever the case may be. But you just gotta keep going. That's what college is. It's not just about getting that education, but how you overcome different things and show your perseverance through different situations that you may not see a particular way out. So.
Okay. Well, we are actually up against our second break, so if you are just tuning in, you're listening to 90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and we'll be back after this quick break.
Support for KKFI comes from Community Lending of America. Their Community Minute spotlights Rediscover, a nonprofit community mental health center that provides comprehensive programs and services for adults and children whose lives have been affected by mental illness and/or substance abuse disorders. They're also expanding access with a new facility in South Kansas City. Learn more about Rediscover all this month at Community Lending of America's site, CLAKC.com.
What type of engineering?
Civil engineering.
June 6th, 7th, and 8th at Feast Park in Kansas City,
And you
Missouri.
plan on staying in
Bringing
Kansas City, or
visibility,
will go where the work
celebration,
is?
and support Kansas City's LGBTQ+ community. You can learn more at kcpride.org.
What about you, Layla?
This is a public service announcement of KKFI.
The opportunity presents.
Back south.
90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and we have two guests in studio, Lailah Hawkins and EJ Atkins. And they've been sharing their journey with us, not just today. Like I said, they've been on here a couple of times talking about their journeys through college, and each of them are recent graduates and talking about their experiences with their first interviews. And so for you, EJ, being a engineering major, I know that is a very rigorous field of study, and your particular field is civil engineering. And so when we talk about black engineers, and I would imagine there is a need for black engineers, and specifically in that field. So in your experience, have you seen any extra attention given to you, or do you feel like there's avenues as far as like support from professional black engineers or whatever relative to getting you started on your career track?
I would say it is a need, just based off, but what's perceived, what you've probably been hearing through your 4 years of college, or, even in high school, they're like, yeah, please come to STEM, we need more black people in this or whatever. But I would say you get attention, particularly when they look at your resume or they see your profile or whatever, and they're like, oh, okay, this is a black person that's interested, so we'll shoot them a chance, with an interview or whatever. But then also when you get into those interviews, like I said, I've had some opportunities with the interviews, but based off of what was said and how they portrayed certain things, I ended up not getting the job or whatever.
Right.
So, sometimes that can be a little, let's just say disappointing, because of, like I said, how they perceive and how they portray certain things of what they're looking for, and, it's to each his own, whatever it is, but
Yeah. I mean, it may open, and it may open a door for you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, just because someone interviews you or whatever, that it's like, oh yeah, we need a black engineer, so we're gonna hire you. But
Right. Well, and then just the other thing, the market is kind of, filled with a lot of potential employees, and so and definitely because we was in that position where we're seeing like a lot of fresh resumes, fresh out of college, but the stack of people that have 5-10 years experience is equal.
Yes.
And so even at that, just to say, just because you're not getting those looks, it's kind of stiff out there. So it's not necessarily a deficit per se, but until you start gaining some of that experience, practical experience, it's just a lot of competition right now.
Right. And so for each of you, I want to talk about mentorship. And as you matriculated through college and in your majors, was there anyone, whether it be at the college or as you've done an internship, that has kind of pulled you to the side, said, hey, I want to see you be successful and done X, Y, and Z. Talk to us about, if for either one of you, any mentors that have kind of assisted you on this journey. And we'll start with you, Lailah.
But like I said earlier, I had to shout out Miss Renee. She's been my number one. She's brought me to my first internship with her company, and I won't say that yet. She's also one of the reasons, like I said, I went to Jackson State, so she knew what I would be in for, so she's been a huge support, kind of guiding me, always checking in on me, asking me if I was taking these classes and if I was getting out of my experience what I'm supposed to, and just always kind of being there. I would also say my advisor, once I got a consistent advisor, the HBCU student. So yeah, she was very helpful. Just telling me about other students' experience in my major, and just always, being that listening ear whenever I needed to vent with a couple words. And yeah, the support has been great. It's as well as some professors that I had maybe a couple times that would teach certain courses in a certain area where they've seen me before, have been congratulating and giving me that extra support and pat on the back that I didn't, know I needed. So that's what I appreciate about going to a HBCU as well.
Okay. And for you, Ethan?
Yeah, I could honestly say that I didn't really have a mentor, particularly that was maybe within my discipline, but I did have like a few teachers, like Mr. Daniel, who was very, he instilled a lot of things within his students to continue down the path of engineering in an HBCU or in Southern University. So he very much got us to grow up in a way, to be able to take on challenges. So he definitely is someone that I can thank on that level. Other mentors that I've had, they just kind of helped me on the outer perimeter of, if we're looking at it from an education perspective, they didn't necessarily help me with education. They helped me with either, some anxiety issues or, different things of that nature. So I kind of use that as a way to like kind of regroup and then go forward in attacking pretty much what I need to do. But also getting into college, we had a wonderful person that helped us, Ms. Tamika, get into colleges and teach us what to look for, particularly in them. So she was definitely someone that starting off was a great mentor, and throughout as well, because what she taught us then was definitely stuff that we would eventually see at the end or somewhere in the middle. So she was very helpful as well.
Right. And I just think it's important to acknowledge those who have helped along the way, and just also to encourage the village to continue to support and understand, you may not, like you said, have a role in your direct discipline, but there are other ways in which you can support your niece or your nephew or your little cousin while they're on these educational journeys. And so just wanted to kind of bring that up as well. And, for each of you, don't want to put you on the spot, but, what are one or two goals that you have now that you've graduated, beyond just, finding a job right away and trying to attack whatever debt you may have? What are one or two goals that you have in the short term moving forward? And we'll start with you, Lailah.
For me?
Yeah.
I was thinking.
I can see the wheels turning.
Okay. That's a great question. I would say now, I think it will be just finding that next thing. Of course, I am going to start working, but I just want to be able to truly find what it is that's out there for me, because I was a business major, as we mentioned earlier, and that doesn't give you a for sure career coming out of it. It gives you so much room to figure out what you want to do for yourself, because that degree can go anywhere, and I just want to be able to use it somewhere where I'm happy. I don't necessarily, just being transparent, I don't want to sit in an office in a cubicle all day. I want to be able to be creative. So just finding out what that looks like for me is something that I'm really looking forward to in these next couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say the same thing on what Mr. Brown said too. Really just getting that experience. So finding that avenue where I can just get in the door and then be able to get that experience and take it on to where I possibly want to go after that. So that's definitely one of my main goals. And then, of course, just establishing myself as a person in society with everything that's going on, just being able to be self-reliant, creating those avenues of revenue and access to different things as well. So that's just really my goal as well, just establishing me as a person in the society, so I can be able to do the things that I want 5 years afterwards. So yeah, just building up that credit and everything.
I hear you. We're now about 10 minutes before 6 o'clock, so I want to encourage everyone, please stay tuned at the top of the hour for Roots Wise Reggae. And so, before we get out of here, we may have a high school senior that is gearing to be a freshman in college, that is gearing to start. And so, for each of you now, you're in that role of giving advice and, getting students prepared for what that college experience is like. So what's one or two things that you would say to them to help them get prepared for their freshman year, for someone that is going to be, starting in the fall? And we'll start with you, EJ.
I would say definitely come in with a open mind. Everything may not go as planned. The first few months, you may not get acclimated as quickly as you probably have in the past, but definitely just be open and willing to get involved and do things that's outside of your norm. That's definitely one thing, and also just take in the 4 years. So as a freshman, just enjoy being a freshman.
Right.
Do those freshman courses, to the best of your ability, but just enjoy that span of that year. Because once you move on to the next level in the junior year, senior year, you're never going to go back. You're just going to keep moving forward. So enjoy the present, enjoy the moment, and of course, school's going to be school, but look outside of school. How can you be a better person? How can you develop and get out of old habits and start new habits that are more conducive for you and where you want to go in the future?
Sounds good. And for you, Lailah?
Yeah, I would agree. I would, like EJ said, keep an open mind. that's something I think is extremely important, just because, well, at least in my experience, there were so many people that were like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay, and I don't know if I can do it being out in Jackson, and ended up loving it. So keep an open mind. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You know, this is a chance for you to have a fresh start. This is a clean slate. This is a new experience. So put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to try new things, because this is you finding yourself in college. You are just fully blossoming into, you know, adulthood, and kind of understanding that it's just a different change. So just embrace it, take it all in. It goes by extremely fast, so make every moment count and just enjoy it.
Right. And so, you know, a couple of things stand out when we talk about doing your research, getting in front of things, but then also being present and enjoying each moment for what it is. And I think especially in this generation that's so challenging with social media and everyone in the moment wanting to put their phones up to record it as opposed to being present. And so great advice. And so want to thank each of you for coming on, sharing your journey with us throughout this entire process. We are extremely proud of both of you. You know, watching, you know, EJ since 8th grade. I can remember you giving the speech at the 8th grade graduation. Exactly. I was like, that young man is going places. You know, and just to see you guys, the way in which you have evolved, and like I said, just extremely proud of the young people that you are growing into. And so before we get out of here, Brother Brown, is there anything you want to add to the discussion?
Welcome to the jungle.
Right. Exactly. And so once again, I want to thank you guys for coming on. I want to give you each the opportunity before we get out of here. Anyone you want to say, shout out, thank, whatever?
Shout out Mama at home. Love you, Mama. And Jalen, if you're listening. My rocks, my family. And shout out to you, Daddy, right here next to me.
Yes,
Shout
absolutely.
out to my family. Shout out to my beautiful girlfriend too back in Louisiana. And shout out to all my friends, and of course the Southern University A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So shout out to all of them and everybody that I've met and connected with. It's been great. So yeah.
All right. And so we will be back next week with another program. Once again, stay tuned at the top of the hour for Roots Rise Reggae. And thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back, and we'll see you next week.
I'm gonna do like a podcast. So
What, you want more?
it's just like